Hello, I'm Aneka from Made to Sew and welcome to my Sewing for Beginners series. In these short videos, I'm going to be showing you how to use a sewing machine. We're going to start today where I'm going to be showing you how to thread the sewing machine. Now, when you're working with a domestic sewing machine like this, you're going to need to have two threads. You're going to need to have a thread to put on the top of the machine, but you're also going to need to wind a bobbin and position the bobbin into the bottom of the machine over here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to thread the top of the machine. Then in the next video, you can look at how to wind the bobbin and insert the bobbin into the sewing machine. If you have a manual for your sewing machine, I recommend that you grab that. You will find that most domestic sewing machines are the same, so you can follow along with this video. But it's always best if you do have a manual just to double check things. If you don't have a manual, then I recommend that you have a little search on the internet and try and download one. You normally can for the majority of machines out there, even second-hand or older sewing machines. Now we're going to begin, when it comes to threading, by turning the sewing machine off. You should have an on-off switch, usually on the right of the sewing machine. By turning that button, you'll see the light will go off. It's always best to thread the machine with the sewing machine turned off for safety reasons. The other thing you're going to want to do before threading is to lift up your presser foot here, if your presser foot is down. Now you will have a lever, mine's at the back of the sewing machine, or it could be at the side under here, that allows you to raise the presser foot. When the presser foot is down on the sewing machine, the tension discs, which are in here, and I'll talk about a bit more later, actually come into play. So they'll make the thread really tight on this area, and therefore it's difficult to thread it. So I'd always recommend threading your machine with the presser foot raised. Start by finding your spool pin or spool holder. They're usually around the top right of the sewing machine. You may have a horizontal spool pin, you may have a vertical spool pin, or you may have both. I recommend checking your accessories tray to see if you have an extra one in there. This simply slots into the top of a different sewing machine. Now, two spool pins are useful for a number of reasons. The first one is that you can use two threads in the future if you require. The second is based on thread type. This thread is a cross-wound thread. The thread zigzags up and down the spool. It works best when the thread simply falls off the end, so this is perfect to use on a horizontal spool pin. If you don't have a horizontal spool pin with your machine, you can get away with this on a vertical spool pin. This thread is called stacked thread, where the thread is sitting all on top of each other. This thread will work best if it's sat on a vertical spool pin, where the thread can come off at a right angle. It will prevent the thread from catching on the ends of the spool. Based on the thread you're using, choose the spool pin that works best for you. I would use the horizontal for the cross-wound thread and the vertical for the stacked thread, just like so. For this example, I'm working with the horizontal spool pin. I have a foam disc that comes with my machine. You may have something similar in your accessories. Then take the thread and position it on to the spool pin. Make sure your thread is falling off the spool in the direction your instructions suggest. Mine is clockwise. Then I have a spool disc or spool holder to pop on the end to hold everything in place. Spool holders come in a variety of sizes. Make sure you choose the correct size for the size of the thread that you're using. Take the thread and allow it to fall gently off the end of the spool. The first place for threading is going to be at the back of the machine here. And this is a common place on most machines. There'll be a piece of plastic or a bit of metal that you need to position the thread behind. Take the thread with both hands and simply position it behind. Then you're going to allow the thread to travel in this groove here and down between the two tension discs. The tension discs are here, and we'll talk about those and how to deal with those in a later tutorial. Hold the thread on the spool if you need to whilst you're doing this, just to give it a little bit of tension. Take the thread down this groove. Make sure that your thread is sitting between the two tension discs, if you can see them. The thread will then travel up the bottom and back up vertically. There is a lever here. To see the lever, you can turn the hand wheel on the right hand side of the machine and the lever will raise. Take the thread from the right around the back of the lever to the left, and the thread should then end up in the eye of the lever. Allow the thread to travel back down towards the needle. Take the thread and position it behind this metal bar here. You may or may not have one of these on your machine. You should then have a little metal bar at the top of the needle. Yours may have an entry point on the left, it may be on the right, but you need to position the thread through this groove. You will then need to thread the needle. To thread the needle, I recommend lowering your presser foot. It just gives you more space. You're then going to thread the needle from the front to the back. Most domestics are front to back. Industrials, on the other hand, are left to right. And pull the thread through. This machine does in fact have a needle threader, which I will show you how to use in a different tutorial. Raise the presser foot and position the thread at the inside of the presser foot. Mine has got a little groove here. Yours may have an entry point at the front. The thread should always be in the centre of the presser foot, towards the back or the side of the machine, out of the way. Hopefully you've been able to thread your sewing machine and you're one step closer to starting sewing. If you have any questions at all, please do pop them in the comments box below and I will try and get back to you. Now on to the next video where I'm going to show you how to wind a bobbin.